So I'm a day late and a dollar short in making a video, or maybe a few dollars. Let's be honest. I had to come back and make a video on this current topic that I'm looking, and it references something that I've already kind of discussed previously. And part of it was in the Substack article. If you don't know, I sometimes occasionally just throw something together on Substack where I talk about something, and just kind of spill my thoughts and what I see on certain topics. If you want to follow that, obviously, I'll link that in the description if you want to go check it out. But what I was talking about is the big lie, and essentially, it was that the previous generation, like my parents' generation and the generation prior, essentially they gave their kids the material wealth, but they refused to give their kids any monetary. And this was a lot of people thought that if you don't, your kids are going to be lazy and entitled and all this stuff, all these kind of buzzwords, lazy, entitled, all this kind of stuff. But yet they were the ones behaving in an entitled manner, buying brand new boats, buying new this, getting themselves material stuff, buying a new car every 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's not really necessary, right? Like, it's not really necessary to buy a new car every 5 or 6 years, unless you're just some kind of like narcissist who just needs to validate yourself by the car that you drive. And to some degree, a lot of people are being coaxed into that because of materialist lifestyle. But I'm going down a rabbit hole. Let me talk to you about what exactly has sparked this discussion. My mother shared this post on Facebook, and I believe it was, it's very pointed. Obviously, there's definitely a perspective here that she was trying to convey, and I believe I know why. My father was a man who worked with his hands. He is a mechanic. He works on tractors. He previously, he was a logger. He's always been someone who works with his hands. He likes doing that. Me, on the other hand, I do not. But they, um, the post she shared. So I want to read it out, and then obviously I'll display it up here in the video, so that you can read along as well. But I want to kind of read it out and then explain where I'm coming from, and also show someone who offers an alternative. And the post starts off: show this one to the kids. A young man went to seek an important position at a large landscaping company. He passed the initial interview and was going to meet the director for the final interview. The director saw his resume, it was excellent, and he asked, "Have you received a scholarship for school?" The boy replied, "No." It was your father who paid for your studies? Yes, he replied. Where does your father work? My father is a farmer and landscapes for fun. The director asked the young man to show him his hands. The young man showed a pair of hands soft and perfect. Have you ever helped your parents at their job? Never. My parents always wanted me to study and read more books. Besides, he can do the job better than me. The director said, I have got a request. When you go home today, go wash the hands of your father and then see me tomorrow morning. The young man felt his chance to get the job was high. When he returned to his house, he asked his father if he would allow him to wash his hands. His father felt strange, happy, but with mixed feelings and showed his hands to his son. The young man washed his hands little by little. It was the first time he noticed his father's hands were wrinkled and they had so many scars. Some bruises were so painful that his skin shuddered when he touched them. This was the first time that the young man recognized what it meant for this pair of hands to work every day to be able to pay for his study. The bruises on the hands were the price his father paid for his education, his school activities, and his future. After cleaning his father's hands, the young man stood in silence and began to tidy and clean up the workshop. That night, the father and son talked for a long time. The next morning, the young man went to the office of the director. The director noticed the tears in the eyes of the young man when he asked him, Can you tell me what you did and what you learned yesterday at your house? The boy replied, I washed my father's hands, and when I finished, I stayed and cleaned his workshop. Now I know what it is to appreciate and recognize that without my parents, I would not be who I am today. By helping my father, I now realize how difficult and how hard it is to do something on my own. I've come to appreciate the importance and the value in helping my family. The director said, This is what I look for in my people. I want to hire someone who can appreciate the help of others, a person who knows the hardship of the others should go through to accomplish things, and a person who realizes that money is not the only goal in his life. You're hired. A child that has been coddled, protected, and given everything he or she wants develops a mentality of "I have the right," and will always put himself or herself first, ignoring the efforts of parents, family, and friends. If we are this type of protected parent, are we really showing love, or are we helping to destroy our children? You can give your child their own room in a big house, good food, a computer, tablet, cell phone, and a big screen TV. But when you're washing the floor or painting a wall, children need to experience that too. After eating, have them wash the dishes with their brothers and sisters. Let them fold the laundry or cook with you, pull weeds, or mow the lawn. You're not doing this because you're poor and can't afford help. You're doing this because you love them and want them to understand certain things about life. Children need to learn to appreciate the amount of effort it takes to do a job right. They need to experience the difficulties in life that people must overcome to be successful, and must learn about failure to be able to succeed. Children must also learn how to work and play with others, and that they will not always win, but they can always work harder to reach their goals. If they've done their best, they can take pride in all the effort they put. Life is about giving and serving, and these qualities are taught in most homes. Okay, a lot to unpack here, as some people might say. So there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to talk about with it, in particular with this framing of this. And as someone who has had to do some effort for what I've gotten, I've had to put forth, I feel like, a great effort to get to the point where I'm at, which is not even very far. I'm not I don't have six figures in the bank account yet. So I'm not. I don't consider myself well off. I consider myself pretty middle of the road. And to get here has been a long journey. It feels like. So it definitely feels like I have put in the work. And to post stuff like this, it really feels disingenuous. I got a scholarship from my school because I actually tended to my education. I wasn't a fool who threw away my education, even though public school education is kind of crummy. If we're honest, I didn't throw it away. I got mostly A's, maybe one or two B's my entire high school career. I ended up with a 3.4 GPA in college. Pretty good, I think. And then I went on to do programming and work with websites. And that's the work that I chose. That's the work that I chose. And my father chose to work with his hands. He chose to be and it was one of the skills that he had. And maybe he didn't get offered the best opportunities. But that's the unfortunate thing about being in that position. It's not that it's being fortunate does not mean that you need to be put into a lower position because you were fortunate. And I'm going to explain here in a moment. There's this myth that if you are given a lot, you should. I mean, it's almost to the point where I see it. It's almost like into the parable of the talents in the Bible. And if you take the talents that you're given, and essentially in this case money, if you take the money that the kid is given and you bury what you would give to the kid, and you tell him, no, we're not going to give you money, son, because that will only spoil you and you will be a ruined kid. Let's bury that. It is not doing a service to the child. It is not teaching them anything. You are not affording them any better life in any meaningful sense. So whatever you think you're trying to do, you're not going to accomplish building a better individual. What I've often said whenever I talk about my son, or my sons now, I want both of them to be an even better version of me. I don't want them to be like me. I don't want them to be just mediocre like I am, like I feel that I am. I want them to be better than me. I want them to have the world is going to be their oyster. They're going to be, the whole smorgasbord is going to be laid before them. and whatever they will do with it, I'm trusting them to make the best decision and be able to navigate it in the correct way. Now, is this correct that you should want your kids to try to exude some level of work ethic? Yes, but they need to do it in whatever way that they can. If a kid just can't be a mechanic, you can't force the kid to learn how to be a mechanic. If he just can't do it, there's no way he's going to be able to do that kind of. And that's kind of the road that you know my parents started down, and then they realize, oh, he needs an education and he can get a scholarship, so why doesn't he do that? And then when I went and I got my own scholarship, and I was able to go to pay for 4 years to a university. I mean, I did the work to get to that point, and then I did the work at the university to get the degree. It doesn't discredit the fact that I got a degree, and it doesn't discredit the fact that my dad worked hard either. So I don't know why it has to be a zero sum game between the generation. There doesn't need to be this sort of zero sum game of I'm the parent and the kid must have nothing and they must be put under my iron fist and they will not have a thing. They will get no money. They will have no fortune. I will leave them with penniless whenever I leave this world. There's no sense. You're not going to make it out of this alive. We're not going to make it out of this alive. We don't get to, either I'm going to inherit it then, or I'm going to inherit it now. Don't you think I would be better off inheriting some of it now so that you can be able to propel me forward and allow my life to accelerate? And that way I don't have to, grind for it. I just don't see the mentality. It just doesn't make sense. You really hate your children if you think that if you really hate your children if you think that passing on wealth, I guess while you're still alive in some meaningful way, like if you pass any amount of money to your children, that's horrible, and that they need to work hard. These kids need to be painting fences and doing this and doing that. No, no, not always. What I would say, and if you want to be constructive about it, and I think this is a valid point. This is a very valid point, and it's going to be a little bit different nowadays as things progress. I don't think things are advancing as much as they used to be, but yeah, you may end up here in a few years. I may end up doing something like cash apping my son $5 for doing something instead of handing him $5. But overall, I think the if you want to do this and you want to go about it the right way, you shouldn't just make your kids. I gotta make them, take the trash out. I gotta make them fold the laundry, cook with you. First of all, this sounds very dictatorial and very like top down. Like you will do. If you want to do it, there are two approaches, and I think both of them are equally valid to some degree. If you work with the children and you get them to help with you, like my son has helped us try to cook stuff. Like I don't think he wants to do it. He's doing it of his own volition. That's even better. That's even better that he wants to participate in something that is a rudimentary chore to some degree for me. Like if I could automatically just have something cooked, then I would. I mean, technically, you can microwave stuff. I get it, but if you could actually have something made on the fly, actually cooked, I would love that. But the unfortunate part is that doesn't exist. So you have to cook it. So he wants to actually participate. He wants to take part of this, and he is doing it of his own volition. And that's much better. That's going to be much more valuable to him, doing it on his own, and he's coming in. I'm helping him, and I'm participating. We're both participating in this. He's helping me stir the eggs up or whatever, stir something up. That's all well and good, right? But the overall, like, if I was just to make him do it, then that would be bad approach. But the other approach is also offering incentives. People are driven by incentives. As much as we hate to admit it, as much as we hate incentivizing people to do the right things and incentivizing them to do well in life, incentives matter. And if you don't incentivize your children to do well, then they're not going to do well. And that's why I plan on obviously having incentives in place for my son. If I want to do something like that, I can be like, "Hey, son, if you'll take out the garbage the whole week, I'll give you $5, or something, maybe $10 if I'm feeling generous, or something like that." Like, just offering something, not like, I mean, that would make him want to do it. You're incentivizing him; he's going to do it. And if he doesn't, obviously he doesn't get the incentive. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It make sense. Like, acting as though you need to be dictatorial, and though the child needs to be obedient, and that they will learn. They will learn a hard day's work. Son will learn hard day work. Much anguish, much effort. No, he's never going to learn. All you're doing is making him frustrated, and you're not giving him an incentive to do it, because he's not getting to do it with you, and he's not getting to he's not getting to actually earn something for doing it. So there's no incentive in place for him to do it, and that's just the crux of it. Another thing that I mentioned is talking about a child that has been coddled, protected, and given everything he or she wants. Now, obviously, you shouldn't give your child everything that they want, right? Because that leads to a very poor, poor financial situation for yourself, obviously, because they're going to want a lot of things. My son wants a lot of things. I just tell him no sometimes, but I don't tell him no all the time, and I don't not get him anything. So I don't understand this whole mentality of like, don't give them everything they want, like, at all. I mean, like, don't give them anything that they want. But develop some mentality of, I have the right, and put themselves first. If you instill in them the value of putting others first, and if you work with them, I think that they learn that better that way. Working with your children and helping them is going to teach them how to help each other, help other people, and taking responsibility better than trying to do some top-down approach. You will be responsible. It doesn't help that way. None of it helps in any way whenever you try to do this top-down approach, this dictatorial approach of, you will help, you will be part of this. You will make sure that you're not coddled. You don't have the right to anything, and that's why, to this point, I've had to take everything that I've gotten. I've had to go and get it. I've had to fight for every single thing, every red cent that I have to my name. I've had to scrap and scrounge for it. And I mean, am I better for it? To some degree, yes, because I am self-sufficient. I don't need anybody to some degree. I can make this. I can manage this on my own. I don't need I don't need someone to validate the fact that of what I'm doing and make sure that I'm doing the right things. But it's just so frustrating to think that some parents will think like this, that they will think that if you don't punish your kids for your successes, that you're being a bad parent. And I will not punish my kid for my success. And that's why I want to bring up this good tweet. This is sort of the summary. The great tweet that I saw, and I also added my own tweet about it. The tweet and I'm referencing, it's here by Kenzie Tuff. She's a great follow on Twitter. I'm gonna read the tweet she's quoting first, and then I'm gonna read her. So essentially, it says, "Unpopular opinion, but we should stop glorifying the pursuit of generational wealth. Why should starting points in life differ so much because of the family someone is born into?" And this is sort of the mentality that like my parents are coming from. Is like the fact that they did well, that I should not do well, or that I should, that I should have to struggle. Nancy says here, the demonization of generational wealth encourages horrible time preference with disastrous results for the average person and families. Yet another example of how equality of opportunity is just absurd as and insidious as equality of outcome. So equality of outcome is obviously two people reaching, the same echelon at the same time. So like two people starting from life and getting to the same point or whatever, like, or they reach the same point. And then there's equality of opportunity, which says, hey, we both have the opportunity to vie for a job or do something like that, and all of these people have the opportunity to vie for that same job equally. And that's just, unfortunately, like she's saying here, equality of opportunity just doesn't exist. There is no equality in the opportunity, just like there's no equality in the outcome. There isn't going to be no equality of opportunity because if Johnny No Name or whatever knows the mayor, and the mayor knows the guy who is hiring for your job, obviously he has a better opportunity of getting that job. So there is no equality of the opportunity. It absolutely doesn't exist. There are people who have an advantage, and they're going to make use of it, whether you like it or not. And if you, as a parent, don't make use of it to your children's benefit, you're just doing them a disservice, and you're putting them behind in the playing field. And she also adds on here, some people have it better than you in some areas of life, and you have it better than them in some areas, was something that my parents taught us from a very young age. This is a simple reality. People who refuse to help family for fear it will ruin them, or they will look selfish, are fools. You're buying into rhetoric breaking familial bonds. And this is very true. Not giving, not saying money is everything, but economics trends everything in your favor. If I had $10,000 more right now, it would be a massive change as opposed to what I have now. I'm not saying it would make me like obscenely wealthy off the bat, but having a greater starting point, combined with the idea of compound interest over time, if I had another $10,000 starting now, it would lead me to have a lot more money in the future. So yeah, it's natural and helps you build your own, good to help your close-knit group. Rejecting that is ignorance and obvious subversion. Yes. So I said the hatred of generational wealth is a hatred of children and a hatred of your own legacy. And that's essentially what this is. If you hate giving your kids money, and you think that they need to work hard and that they need to never know happiness because they will work hard and they will pull themselves up by their bootstraps and they will get working and they will work hard because they're lazy bums. It is a hatred of your children. If you listen to how you're talking to yourself about your children, saying they're lazy bums, like the fact that you're saying that means that you hate your children. There's no other way around that. There's no other way to reconcile that the fact that you hate your children, I don't know if you hate that they were born or what, but it definitely is a hatred of your legacy, and it's a hatred just of them. And I don't know why you would have children if you have this mentality. Unfortunately, a lot of people do. They don't think about it. They don't think about the repercussions of their actions. They don't think about how things impact other people. and it is very narcissistic, and it's a very narcissistic thing that this generation, these previous two generations, essentially have fallen into. Is that they'll go buy a big boat, they'll go buy a new shed, they'll go buy new this, buy new that, or whatever, and then whenever it comes time to give their kids something, no, Johnny, you got to go work for it yourself, Johnny. And I don't understand that mentality because I see a lot of people who do the opposite too. They just give their kids money all the time, and I don't think you should do that. I don't think you should just give your kids money all the time. If there's anything in this conclusion that I want to state, it's that giving your kids money all the time is not the way to go, but you shouldn't hate the fact that your kids are well off, and you shouldn't hate the fact that hate your kids so much that you don't want to give them any money. If you hate them that much, then it means you've done a bad job up to this point. But if you hadn't done a bad job up to this point, then why would you feel bad about giving them money or helping them in any way? It doesn't make sense. I hope you got something from this. I know I've kind of been on a tirade and a little bit of a rant here. This stuff fuels me, and it makes me really angry when I see this kind of stuff, because it doesn't make any sense to hate your kids and hate them for being in a better position than you are. There is no equality of opportunity. There is no equality of outcome. It's all what your legacy is gonna be. And for me and myself, as for me and my house, in some ways, I want to leave a great legacy. And not that I'm gonna be great, but my legacy is my children. That's my greatest legacy. And in them, I'm gonna pass along hopefully a good chunk of money that they can do, and they can be able to manage themselves to make themselves a good living. And I hope they get the opportunities that I didn't have. And I would have loved to have started a business and been able to do all these things, pursue ventures, and be able to actually have some capability of success. I don't think I've had a bad life. It's just been a very tough road, a tough path to go, a long winding path. Whereas if I had money to start with, and I had things that I would have been able to go forward with, it would have been a lot easier to kind of take that approach. And if I would have known a lot of the things that I know now, I would have been way better off. But you live and you learn, and I had to learn a lot of things, unfortunately, the really hard way. And that's just going to stick with me. That's going to be how it is. And I will always have learned those hard lessons, and they're going to be there with me. And I'll probably learn more hard lessons in the future. But overall, I don't think that you should be trying to make sure that your kids suffer at the expense because of the fact that you did well. I don't think that it's viable. I don't think it's reasonable, and I think it only makes them bitter. They're not going to be able to enjoy things or value things the same in any way, because all they're going to be doing is going, okay, when does it end? When does this end? This is a long trudge and a long journey to get to the point to even where where I feel somewhat comfortable. But to get to the point where I want to be, it's going to be a long journey. But that's a long-winded way to talk about a lot of this stuff. Don't hate wealth. Enjoy the journey. Just raise your kids the best way you can. I mean, I'm not telling you. Obviously, this isn't me telling you how to raise. This isn't me trying to beat people over the head to teach them a lesson of how to raise a kid. But just know that if you hate giving your kids money or hate giving your kids opportunity, then you hate them and you hate your legacy. That's the unfortunate part. But I hope you got something. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, there are links down below in the description. Kind of like I said, I got a Substack where I sometimes write. I got other links down there where I sometimes stream me playing video games and stuff. Check that out. And I'll catch you in the next one. This is Trey from Trey's Think Tank signing out.